So I think it's finding the right people. And I know for ourselves, but I think it's kind of a trend over the general church, is that since COVID, it's been pretty hard to get people to commit to rotas and roles. People are a little bit more hesitant. So I think it's praying that the Lord would provide all the skill sets and the people into the right roles.
Well, hello and welcome to the Church Office Podcast. My name is Gavin Smith, and it's a joy today to welcome you to our Admin and Ops podcast. We love talking about the work of ministry behind the scenes, and we get pastors listening, admin and ops staff, we get trustees. There's a whole bunch of people, and there's so much work and effort goes into behind the scenes ministry. And today our special guest is Wiz. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Nice to be here.
It's good to have you. Wiz, where are you from? Tell us a little bit about where you're from and church-wise.
Yeah, I grew up in Hertfordshire, a little town called Bushy Heath. So that's where I grew up with my family, and then went off to Loughborough, and then I've moved into Henley-on-Thames, and we've been living there since 2016, so 10 years, coming up to 10 years.
10 years. And you're the ops manager there at the church?
I am. I'm the ops manager at our church called Trinity Church Henley, and I'm the operations manager there 3 days a week.
Class. And so we're going to be firing a load of questions at Wiz in a minute. And before we get into the conversation, we want to have just a big shout out to Gavin from Church Suite and the guys who sponsor our podcast. They just do a fantastic job in creating a brilliant database. And I mean, it's a whole piece of software now that helps you in so many different ways. So many ops and admin people I know in churches are using it. It's a really effective and powerful tool to really connect with the church, to communicate well, to organize things well. There's a whole bunch of different modules that you can purchase, so you can build up the suite as your church grows and needs more assistance in this area. So, Gavin and Church Suite, thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast and really getting behind us as the church office. We love you guys, and yeah, go and check out their website if you haven't, at churchsuite.com. Wiz, it's great to have you on, and we've got a mutual friend, Graham Daniels, who is a big fan of mine, and we loved having him on the podcast. And he was saying to me, if you're talking admin and ops, you need to speak to one lady, and the lady was you. You've got to speak to Wiz. Wiz, the wizard at administration and operations. I think that is probably true. Tell us a little bit about your church, and and a little bit about your role.
Yeah, so our church is a Church of England church. We have 3 services, but just under 200 come throughout the day. And it's lovely because it's just a huge blend of all the people in Henley. So you've got loads of families. We do lots of stuff during the week, after school clubs and toddler groups and baby cafe and things like that. And we've got a lot of new Christians as well. We've kind of sensed that we've got quite a few people coming through the door who are completely unchurched. What a privilege, hey, to just have people come through the door, and that's the first church door they've ever come through. So a real mix of real beginners to those who are real mature Christians. So kind of a real mix of kind of ages and stages.
Yeah, I love that. And everyone's got a story, haven't they, of how they kind of fell into administration operations? Because nobody leaves school going, yeah, I'm going to be an ops manager at church today. And you come with this kind of wealth of other information and from jobs that you've done previously. What's your story? How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, mine was quite a meandering story.
Yeah.
I went off to Loughborough University and did sports science, so something completely irrelevant to church operations, and then ended up in London for a year with IMG, and we were organising mass participation events, so things like the London Triathlon and big cycling events and things like that. So kind of got stuck into the sports organising, sports event organising and marketing. And then ended up at Christians in Sport for 13 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It was a long old time.
It's a good stint.
It was a good stint. So I kind of came in doing things that I was doing in London, so kind of your communications and event organizing. And then as I kind of made my way through for those 13 years, starting getting alongside some of the leaders on the team, including Graham Daniels that did a podcast with you quite recently, and starting to manage some of those teams within Christians in Sport. So that was kind of Christians in Sport era, and then the children era. So I have little Bobby and Livy, who are 6 and 4. So I spent a bit of time being with them and seeing them grow up, and then just started doing a few hours at the church where I could help. And that's kind of over the last 4 years kind of grown into a 3 day a week role as the operations manager.
Oh, great. Great. Love that. Yeah, it's a bit of a journey, isn't it?
It
I
is.
we had someone on the podcast once who was involved in organizing the London Olympics.
Ah, very
And
good.
it was fascinating to talk to her about kind of project management and how she did it and what she learned from it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think the podcast is still available. But that kind of mass event organizing that will help you to think about the church on it and think about flows and events and organization. I mean, you probably got some real great skills from that kind of season.
I think it was a super place to start because you go in and you know what good looks like. You
Yeah,
know, when you work
yeah,
somewhere where they spend millions of pounds on something and the detail is
yeah,
so precise, and you go from that and you can just take that into other contexts. So
yeah.
I think that was a really helpful place to start for me.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your role. So you're doing 3 days a week. What are you kind of
Yeah.
responsible for, and what does that look like for you?
That's it. So 3 days a week, and I oversee the kind of operational functions of the church and make sure everything goes really smooth. So the kind of priority can be on the ministry, and there's kind of no distractions away
Yeah,
from that.
yeah,
And the kind of five priorities areas I would say is HR, communications, the fabric, compliance, and administration. So they're kind of five function areas
yeah,
I oversee. Now, some of the day to day I'll do more because I've got more experience in some of those,
yeah,
like communications.
yeah,
And there'll be other areas that I don't have those expertise, but there's brilliant people within those teams that I will oversee
yeah.
and support where I can. And then I work quite closely with our finance team. They're all volunteers at the moment, so I can give
Okay.
them a little bit more bandwidth as a staff member.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Yeah. And the communication stuff, I mean, it's interesting because when we chat to ops and admin people, they often say they wear multiple hats, which is kind of what you described there, isn't it? You know, so
Yeah.
you're working on HR, you're doing comms, you're doing administration, you're working with volunteers. Um, it's yeah, there is like such a breadth of that. Do you enjoy that kind of diversity? Or would you be like, oh, just give me the comms job one day or something like that, you know?
Depends which day of the week it is. By
Yeah,
Friday, I'm like, just give me one job.
yeah,
Um, But I love the variety of it. I think that's one of the
yeah,
things I love most about the job is that it is so varied. I
yeah,
think if I just did one job, I think I'd get a little bit bored. I love being kind of stretched in different areas.
yeah,
And I think as you start, you kind of your years go by, you work out where your strengths are
yeah,
and where you need other people to, where
yeah,
you're kind of like a 4 out
yeah,
of five, and you get it up to that level, and you find someone else to get it to kind of 5 to 10. So it's kind of being humble enough to know where you're good and where you're not good enough, I think,
yeah,
where others
yeah.
do better.
Yeah, no, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, you do become more kind of self-aware, don't you? Of
I think
right,
so.
where are my strengths, and yeah, where do you draw others in, and
Yeah.
you know, part of our philosophy, isn't it, is kind of building a church that's kind of every member ministry, isn't it? Where people are playing their parts, and so part of that, like I love the fact you're saying, yeah, our finance team are voluntary because we want that, don't we? We want people to find a place
Mm.
where they can serve in amongst the team somewhere across one of the areas that we're responsible for, which is great. How have you found? Because your sports background probably makes you a really good team player and a really good kind of team builder. Is that something that you've kind of naturally had, or something that you've developed in over time?
I think your personality probably splits you into being an individual athlete or a team
Yeah.
athlete, a team player. And I was always into team sports, so football and hockey
Okay.
are my background.
Yeah.
And I just loved being with the team. I loved encouraging. Loved being encouraged. I
Yeah.
don't think there's oh, you're a footballer. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing better than like winning or like having that really, really tough match and you get to the end of it and you put everything out there,
Yeah.
and just kind of celebrating as a team. So I think I've always been a team player, and I think all of the stuff you learn on the pitch are super
Yeah.
transferable into the workplace and into kind of general life as well. And it's lovely seeing my two. They've started playing football as well, and
Oh,
I just think,
class.
oh, it's just such a priority. I know other people would say like get them into French or get them doing the musical instruments, but I just think if you can get them on a pitch in a
Yeah.
team, I just think that the skills that you learn, the life skills that you learn,
Yeah.
are just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, even the leadership that starts early on, isn't it? It was great. Yeah, I've got a colleague of mine, Jack, and his son was in the office the other day, and we were chatting about what it was to be a captain of the team, and the difference of what you do compared to one of the other players on the pitch. And he was talking to me about aspiring to be a captain, and how the
Mm,
captain does kind of rock paper scissors at the start of the game to decide which end they're going to go, and you know, who was going to kick off first. And I was just like, there was something really great about it, just interacting with him. He's only about 7 years old, but
yeah,
already starting to think, right, how do I lead people? How do I care for people? Identifying players in the team that might need more assistance and stuff like that. I was like, well, this
yeah.
kid's great. This is
That's
brilliant.
wonderful. It is
So
such a privilege to be in a role where you're leading or managing and being able to kind of walk through life with somebody and have the privilege of getting to know them and care for them.
yeah,
I remember Graham Daniels saying he did a seminar. He won't remember this, but he might do. He did a seminar with the staff team, and he said, "What is the number one priority
yeah,
as a manager, as a line manager?" And
yeah,
all these
yeah,
ideas are being thrown out, and he said, "The number one thing is that that person feels really cared for. You're the one person in the company, the
yeah,
organization, the team that really cares for them and they feel cared for." And I think that is something that's really kind of gone
yeah,
with me over those 13 years and into my role at the church, that that person that you're managing or leading just needs to know that they're really careful, they're completely
yeah,
loved.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was something that I found very helpful from
I
Danny.
love that. I love that. Now, kind of an average week for you, you're doing 3 days. And I think, I wonder whether you can speak into this a little bit, because lots of administrators are part-time,
Hmm.
and in our area of kind of admin and ops. And you've got two young kids, busy church. How
Mm.
do you like navigate all of that in a week, and how do you see that working out? Because
Yeah.
that feels like a headache, and I know for people who work part time, it's actually quite difficult. It's harder,
Yeah,
isn't it, to split yourself across the week? So, give me a
it
couple of
is.
thoughts into that.
I think it really depends on your personality. I really like block organizing. So Monday to
Okay.
Wednesday is my kind of church ops and admin's day. And I just like have my head down,
Yeah.
get everything done that I need to get done. I really like having a deadline in my head. So I know that come
Okay.
Wednesday, whatever hour at night it might be, they are my three kind of work specific days.
Okay.
And then Thursday, Friday is generally kind of more house and life admin and looking after the kids
Yeah.
time. And then my husband's a rowing coach, so he's away
Okay.
a lot of Saturday and a lot of Sunday. So
Okay.
kind of Saturday, Sundays are full on taking the kids to swimming or taking them
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
bike rides and things. So that's kind of what my kind of whole life week looks like.
Yeah.
What Monday to Wednesday look like? It's a real blend of time with people and task, which I love because I'd say I was probably more of an introvert and task orientated, but I love
Yeah.
people and have a heart for people. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
real nice mix. I'd say the first thing into my diary, Monday to Wednesday, is all my people time. So my one-to-ones and
Okay.
team meetings. They're the kind of things that really help with the role. So I always
Yeah.
have time, at least half an hour, 45 minutes with our vicar, Sam. So it's a chance for him to check in with me, update me on things, ask me
Yeah.
questions, and for me to update him as well. So there's kind
Yeah.
of a real teamwork there.
Yeah.
Um, then I'll have one-to-ones with our administrator. So Jo, who's a lovely, lovely friend and lady who works. She works 2 days a week and does our admin throughout the week. And then there'll be all the team meetings as well. So tomorrow night, for example, we've got our fabric team meeting. So we'll
Okay.
have everyone in the
Yeah.
same room once a month or so, just checking in on the various areas of the fabric team that needs to be
Yeah.
done. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like people side of things, and then your tasks, and that can be really varied. So I, for this podcast, I just looked at my diary and I thought, okay, what are the main tasks for today? So we Alpha on. So kind of comms wise, we've got Alpha.
Yeah.
So I will be
Yeah.
kind of promoting that through social media and making sure our posters are outside, et cetera, et cetera. Then we've got an interview later today where we've got a big building project going on. So we're
Okay.
employing a grant writer.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're interviewing for that. So they're kind of two big things. And then also this week, which will, some people will love this and some people love, but reviewing all our risk assessments. So that's something
Okay.
I'll be doing this week as well. So it's kind of super varied. Some of those things are more interesting than others, but it's definitely a varied week.
Yeah, and that's great. And you mentioned Sam the Vicar, and immediately I can, just from knowing you, your working relationship with Sam is obviously like really important, and so you guys gather together on Monday and have that time. Do you connect later in the week again, or is that just a weekly monthly thing? So a weekly Monday appointment. How do you kind of work that? Because that relationship with the senior pastor or senior vicar is really important, isn't it?
It's really important, and we're very different. So he is very he has a huge vision, and he's we're very different, but we work very well together. We complement each other very well. We start off the week on Monday as the staff team, so we have an hour and a
Yeah.
half together with him there leading the meetings,
Okay.
with all the staff team together, so we know exactly what the week looks like. We review
Yeah.
Sunday, we look ahead to Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's wonderful to be on the same page. And then Tuesdays, me and him will have a one-to-one. So there are two kind of touch points, but then I
Cool.
know that he's available all the way through the week. So
Yeah.
we may have individual meetings about specific projects we're working on, or it'll be
Yeah.
by email correspondence. But generally, I'd say from Monday to Wednesday, we're in contact quite a lot throughout the day.
Okay. Great. And tell me a little bit about your grant making person then. So
Mhm.
you're and the building project. What does that kind of involve? Are you redeveloping like a whole section of the building, or what's the plans? Give us a little bit of info.
Yeah, well, it's called Room for Growth. And
Okay.
wonderfully, we've seen lots of growth
Yeah.
over the last 4 or 5 years. It used to be a very small church, 20, 30 older
Wow.
people.
Okay.
And then we had a new congregate 4 o'clock congregation led by Sam, but saw an influx of families coming in. So regularly now we're seeing 170, 200
Wow.
Sunday, which is
Brilliant.
fantastic. And it's a really busy program throughout the week, seeing lots of families come into the building as well, which is wonderful. But we
Yeah.
struggle with space. So
Okay.
what we're going to do is try to change the layout of the church building so we have more breakout rooms for all the
Okay.
kids groups on Sunday. That's the priority.
That's
The other
amazing.
priority, which people say, well, is the even bigger priority, is the heating. It's
Okay.
absolutely freezing. It's a very old school Church of
Yeah.
England, massive, lovely, lovely architecture.
Beautiful building. Yeah.
Beautiful building, but very cold. So the heating is another priority. So
Okay.
kids, space for kids, and heating are the two kind of big things. We
Okay.
want it to be a real hub and a real home. So a home
Yeah.
for our church family to
Yeah.
grow in our faith and be rooted further in the word. And then we want it to be a real hub for mission to go out as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
I
the kind
love
of
that.
vision for it.
I love that. And so the idea is to kind of appoint a grant finder. Is that mainly because of your capacity, or is that just trying to, get someone who's specialist in this area that'll move quicker, or
Yeah.
what's the thinking?
The thinking is that we've done an initial fundraiser from the church family, and
Okay.
amazingly, we've raised just over £250,000, which is
Wow.
wonderful in
Wow.
one go. It's been a lot of work to kind of get to that stage with all the
Yeah.
designs and everything. But we've got that kind of chunk of money, and we thought, do you know what? Putting £5,000 maybe aside for a
Yeah.
year's work of somebody to of an expert who
Yeah.
can write and has experience of kind of successful grant applications would be a really good use of money. So yeah, we've put that money aside so that we can kind of make money out of that money.
Yeah, yeah. No, that sounds great. I'd love to find out more
Mm.
about that as
Yeah,
that journey goes on, because I think
yeah,
lots of churches always say to me, it's one of the questions we do get through the church office is, should we appoint an external grant finder? Do we delegate and allocate some time for staff? But and it's quite a competitive place now, isn't it, in terms of funding? Because there isn't as much, or it feels like there isn't as much funding around
yeah,
for churches and for capital projects. So
yeah.
yeah, it's always that kind of thing, right? Yeah, I've always thought, oh yeah, I'd love to go for a grant finder, but I've just no idea where to start on that. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that, well, what I'm told is there's a lot of pockets of money out there. It's just having the right people to know how to access
okay,
them and to where to find them and how to kind of apply it successfully. I think the other reason we're doing it is because it's a huge project, which is going to be a wonderful kind of long-term project for the church, but you don't want to lose sight of the day-to-day ministry.
that's right.
And if myself and Sam, the vicar, and other staff members are pulled too much into that, there's this kind
Yeah,
of you kind of lose a sight
yeah.
of the vision of the church today. So there's this kind of balancing act of being involved as much as we need to be, but not as much over the top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's wise, isn't it? Yeah, there's some lovely wisdom there, isn't it? Because a building project, as exciting as it can be, becomes a distraction from the gospel, doesn't it? And
Exactly.
what we're primarily called to do. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I always say to people, like, before you enter into a project like this, like, what are the things that you need in place before you kind of start this? Like, where does the trust board or the PCC, where do they feel like you need to be at in terms of organization, funds,
Yeah.
so you're ready to go, and yeah, everyone's on board with that. So yeah, no, it sounds really interesting. Well, we'll check back in with you at some
Yeah.
point and kind of find out how all of that's going. um a couple of questions then, just tell us a little bit about what you love then, and about the role. And we've kind of started talking about that a little bit with people, but is there
Yeah.
anything else that you'd add on to that kind of conversation?
Yeah, I think using the gifts that the Lord's given me to
Mm,
help grow his kingdom
yeah,
in Henley. I think we're doing 1 Corinthians 2 at the minute about the unity and diversity of the body. And
yeah,
I think over the years, I've probably looked at other people and gone, oh, look at that skill. They're growing the gig, like,
yeah,
like God's
yeah,
gifted them so well in that. I'm definitely not the person who will be on stage doing an inspirational sermon. That's just not the way that the Lord made me. But do you know what? I can organize and I can manage people and I can
yeah,
manage projects and I can get stuff done. And that's the way that the Lord's given me gifts to be able to
yeah,
kind of grow his kingdom here in Henley. And he's given me a real heart for this kind of mission field at this moment.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'd say that's. I think it's look, you play football. I've played football not at your level, but it's like trying on football boots, right? So you try
yeah,
one, just not quite right, or you try the next one on, like the Predators, try those on, they don't quite fit, and then you try the next one on, and it's a perfect fit. And I feel
yeah,
like for this season in my life, this is just like the perfect fit. It's kind of using
yeah,
the gifts that God's given me, the
yeah,
time that I've got available at the moment, and the
yeah,
vision that the church has.
yeah.
Kind of it's a real kind of perfect role for me
Ah,
at this moment in my life.
that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. And let's flip it to the other way then. So what if some of the challenges, if someone's sitting here going, "Oh, wouldn't it be lovely to be an admin and ops manager?" Isn't it the joys? But there are some pressures, aren't there? Pressure points and challenges. What have you found in that? Because you've been doing this 4 or 5 years. Yeah. What are some of
Yeah.
those things that you're looking out for? Um, yeah. Tell us a few on those.
Yeah, I'd say the one that came to mind straight away was finding the right people for the right roles. So
Okay.
that was the biggest thing I think coming from Christendom sport into the church and working with the church ops and admin. When you just go along to church, you don't realize, well, I did not realize how much stuff was going on behind the scenes and the amount of people and the amount of roles that need to be filled for everything to kind of run smoothly. Um, and it's easy to manage and lead a team when you've got the right people, right? So the
Yeah.
ones that are available, the ones who've got the right skill set, the ones that are sort of motivated to do it. Once you've got those people in place, managing a team is
Yeah.
it's pretty easy, isn't it? But if you haven't
Yeah.
got those people, then it's really hard. So I think it's finding the right people. And I know for ourselves, but I think it's kind of a trend over the general church is that since COVID, it's been pretty hard to get people to commit to rotas and roles.
Yeah.
People are a little bit more hesitant. So I think it's praying that the Lord would provide all the skill sets and the people into the right roles. It can be a challenging role, particularly because operations covered so many areas,
Yeah.
and you might come to the role and have
Yeah.
expertise in a few,
Yeah.
but not the other three or so. So it's really praying that the Lord would raise up the right people into those right roles, so you can support and nurture them.
Yeah, that's a good thing, isn't it? Yeah, I think one of the things that I found a challenge in it all is I'll often say to new ops people that come and do a visit at the church here, and they'll say, tell us about stuff, and one of the things we always say to them is you've got to have a kind of the pace that you want to run
Mhm.
um, isn't the same pace as everyone else that's around you.
Yeah,
Um, and so you have to have a degree of kind of patience, don't you? There are steps that you've got to, information goes to the PCC and it doesn't come back immediately, or there's some tweaks and you're kind of waiting and you've got a team ready to go, but you're not able to kind of get into it straight away. And so
yeah,
so the patience of stuff is hard. We're working with people who are kind of on the opposite scale of us, aren't they, in terms of our gifting and our thinking. So you're talking about Sam being a visionary leader. Often we're coming alongside a visionary leader and you're trying to navigate, translate what he's got in his head as his vision
yeah.
into what does that look like in practice.
Mm,
And sometimes we get the opposite effect, don't we, where we're the ones who are slowing the pace down because we're trying to go, well, actually, we need to think about this and this compliance and this insurance thing and this
yeah.
thing. And so the understanding the pace that you're at and you need to travel, depending on who you're working with, I've kind of found, right, yeah, I really need to think about that and just be aware of that. And kind of Graham used to say, and I guess in lots of sports things, you've got to read the room, haven't you? Okay.
Yeah.
Read the room, who's in the room, who's doing what kind of pace are they at, what are some of their strengths and weaknesses, and be able to kind of bring everyone together, isn't it? Because that's part of our job is we bring people together to move in a direction, to work together in order to kind of, see something organized, like a Sunday morning organized.
Yeah.
Um, for you, three services, that's a busy and a lot of people, isn't it? And so,
Mm.
you know, changing the culture, changing the way we might do something in our Sunday service actually does take time, doesn't it, to work that through. And I found the job frustrating at times where, yeah, I haven't understood that pace. And so there might be administrators that are nodding along to this going, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think so. I've just completed a course in change management, an APCM course. That was
yeah,
fascinating. Just the kind of the psychology behind change and those who kind of
yeah,
adapt early and those who lag behind and how you can encourage them and communicate
yeah,
along the way. That was really, really helpful, actually. I'd recommend that to anyone listening. That was very helpful, particularly anyone who's going, any churches that are going through do change. I'd say with the pace, I completely agree. I think that can be a frustration when it has to go through a decision has to go through lots of different committees like your PCC or the fabric
yeah,
team, etc. have to go through. But I have experienced that when you try and go alone, it's always the wrong thing to
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah,
You got to take people with you, and sometimes that will be fast, and sometimes that will be slow. But it's always better to go with people
yeah,
along the journey rather than try and go there faster, but going alone always
yeah.
ends in disaster.
It never does quite work out, does it?
It
Yeah,
doesn't, does
yeah,
it?
yeah. Yeah, I can think of some things that I've done wrong in the past, yeah, on that. It's talking about these kind of things that we get, yeah, that we get wrong, the challenges. Is there anything that you would have gone, oh, I would have loved to have known this before I've started the role? Um, to someone who's listening or a pastor who's listening, thinking, right, what do we need in this role? Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd say one thing that I did coming in and for that kind of first year was working out and reflecting on the gifts that God had given me and what he hadn't. And we'd kind of touched a little bit on this before, but
Yeah,
really stopping and kind of looking about all the experience that he's given me in the past and where I can really lean into that as I come into that church role. So in London, organising events and then coming to Christian Sport and doing some management and doing some more communications and organising all of that stuff God can use and has given
yeah,
you for the
yeah,
purpose of this next role, right? Whatever
yeah,
role season you might be in. So come into the church, it's stopping and being like, right, these are all the roles that are here, and this is all the experience I've been given by the Lord. So where can I lean into those to use those roles? And then where do I need to put a team around me who can fill the gaps to those and I can get alongside and really help them. So
yeah,
I think real time reflecting on my gifts, being vulnerable enough to say, actually, I'm not strong here. I need somebody
yeah,
else on the
yeah,
team to do
yeah,
that, and being humble enough to work out what you are and you're not good at. I also think it's super helpful to kind of work out your personality. We do
yeah.
disc analysis. I don't know if
Okay.
disc profiling,
Yeah,
uh, but there's loads of others out there, and we did that at Christians in Sport, and that's something I brought onto the team, the church team here at Trinity.
yeah,
But I found that super helpful to understand myself, understand how my personality changes the way I behave in different
yeah,
situations. And we have a team of a real mix of different personalities. And I think understanding myself, but also understanding people on my team,
yeah,
helps for our team to function really well. So I kind of think reflecting on who I am, the gifts I have, and what I don't have, who
yeah,
else needs to be on the team, and understanding my team really well through their different personalities.
yeah. I love that. I love that. That's great. Yeah, and I think I'm just trying to think what other advice we'd give somebody who's kind of starting in a new role that picks up the podcast and goes, okay, what kind of things like do I need to? And you know what you're alluding to there is great, isn't it? An awareness of your own gifting, an awareness of those around you, strengths and weaknesses, and yeah, how we work together as a team.
Mm.
Any other kind of bits of advice, practical or or
Mm.
or maybe even heart advice, I guess, isn't it as well?
Yeah, I think I've been in this role 4 years. I probably only came across UCAN and the church office in the last kind of year and a half.
Mm.
So I think when I started the role, I was trying to put all these policies together myself and trying
Yeah.
to search for wisdom on how to kind of put things together, but then coming across this huge, wonderful community that are all trying to do the same thing, all
Yeah.
are kind of godly, lovely people who are willing to share resources and share
Yeah.
policies that they're writing. If I'd known about them 4 years ago, that would have been I think, a lot stronger start for me.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a huge thing. I'd say get involved where you can with the conferences. I
Yeah.
love the Facebook forum, like all the
Yeah.
questions that come up.
Yeah.
You don't really realize you need to answer those questions
I
or
know.
ask those questions before you see them. You're like, yeah, I
Yeah.
need to think about that too.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, get stuck in as much as possible. Learn from other people. As I say, I've only been in it 4 years, so there's so much for me to learn. But there is things that I can teach others as well. So I think it's being a mix of humble in that, but also taking the opportunities to learn and to teach others.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it? And if you're starting out and you're thinking, right, you mentioned about the kind of change course that you did.
Mm,
The church office have put together a new course, kind of the Good Church Management course, which is available online for you to kind of purchase to work through at your own pace. It's sort of something that, yeah, if you've got an hour a week to give to it, over the next 3 or 4 months, you could get through the course and be equipped in all the different areas that we're talking about. Particularly related to the people, policy, and
mm,
procedure, governance, thinking all those details, thinking about our building and our fabric and how we manage that, how we manage staff, volunteers, all of that stuff has been covered in the course and kind of worth checking out. Um, Liz, how long do you think you've got kind of to get to when everyone starts a new job, they always think, right, in 5 years' time, I'm going to get this, and this done. Have you had any sort of like milestone things that you've been kind of working towards, that are going on for you?
I keep seeing the light in various things and not quite managing to get there. But yeah, I hope I've kind of given myself Easter deadline to make sure all our risk assessments are up to date and all our
Okay.
policies are reviews. So that's kind of the next kind of milestone for me. But I think it does take longer than you think it will. I think when you come into job, that's probably another thing I'd say as you're starting off in the job. Be
Yeah.
realistic in how much you can get done and be patient with yourself. As
Yeah.
you say, you want to bring people with you. You don't just want to be making decisions and policies and things
Yeah.
like that. And by yourself in isolation, you want that to be a whole team, a whole church family
Yeah.
input into those things. So things do take a lot longer, I find, than you would maybe hope them to or think they
Yeah.
would take. But just being patient with the process, just bringing everyone alongside you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I think in the middle, I guess it's the experience of what it's like to kind of be in a kind of middle management kind of thing in a way. Maybe we'll just finish on a podcast just thinking a little bit about this because we kind of refer up to, don't we, our your in your case a vicar, in my case it's a kind of an eldership. And then we've probably got some peers along our line as well that we're working alongside. And then we've got our volunteers that we're managing and so you're managing up, managing down, managing across, and it feels quite chaotic in that sense. Um, tell me a little bit about that experience for you, and then just thinking about our hearts in this. How do we kind of maintain a good heart? Because when you're stretched and you are feeling a bit under pressure in that, isn't it? It's easy to lose a bit of heart in what you're doing. And I don't know if you've had one of those moments yet in 4 years where you're like, actually, what am I doing? Should I be continuing to do this? Like, I do have those moments as well. Um, yeah, tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, I think it's making sure that you start your day in the right place. So making sure that you're spending the time with the Lord and kind of centering yourself. I think it's really easy if you're kind of person who likes to get going with the day, particularly
Yeah.
for me, I get to a Monday and I've worked Monday to Wednesday and then I've had those days off. I'm just like raring to go on a Monday morning. Actually get up Monday morning, I get up at 5 and
Wow.
just on Monday, just to look at my week and make sure that
Yeah.
I've got the right
Yeah.
time with the right people. So time with the Lord, and then look at my diary and the time with the people. I think it's really easy just to get stuck into tasks, but people are
Yeah.
the real heart of the work, aren't they? And they're the
Yeah.
ones you need to get alongside. So I sacrifice time on the tasks for the time with the people. So I just
Yeah.
make sure every week I've got the right amount of time allocated to making sure that I'm communicating up and I'm supporting both
Yeah.
left and right and for those who are kind of volunteering along the way.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. No, that's good. And yeah, being reminded of kind of why we do what we do, isn't it? And what the big reason is, we're there to go and make disciples, aren't we? To go and on mission to take the glorious gospel out there to people. And I often have to kind of keep reminding myself, why do we do this? We do this because we want to build better structures in the church. We want to build better policy. But why? Because we want our church to be more effective, which means the gospel goes out more effectively. And so I can get kind of caught up in the, like you say, the task list and forget the why bit. And so I've got to be reminding myself and our team reminding one another of actually this is why we do what we do. Um,
Definitely.
it makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does. I think you can get up and you can be like, right, what's my, you don't say this out loud, but in your heart, you're like, what's the aim of today? Well, the aim of today is to get through my to-do list as fast
Yeah,
as
yeah,
right.
yeah,
But actually, it's
yeah,
not. It's the aim of my to-do list is to really love and care, whatever that way that might be. If I'm writing a risk assessment, that's an intentional act
yes,
of love towards the people that the Lord has entrusted us with, if
yeah,
that be church
absolutely right.
family or visitors come through the door. So I think it's kind of keeping the vision of the ministry at the heart of everything we do,
Yeah,
reminding yourself of that every single
yeah,
day, who we are in Christ, the
yeah,
good works that He's put here for us to
yeah.
do, and kind of see our to-do list in light of that.
Yeah, I love that, and yeah, you're talking about Ephesians here, aren't you? The good works that God has called us to kind of in advance to walk in,
Yeah.
and I love that, isn't it? That every day we've got an opportunity to show, to well, obviously first of all to glorify God, but then to show goodness and kindness to people, isn't it? And those around us, and yeah, so the why bit, so the heart part is as important as getting the rotors out,
Mm,
within ourselves and within our teams and how we do that. And when people find that connection as to why they do something and the impact that that why has on the church or on the community that we're serving, there's joy in there, isn't there? There's life in there. There's gospel in there. So we come alive in that stuff. And I think if you've lost your joy in it, it's one of those kind of signs, isn't it, of like an early warning system of like, actually, do I need to return back and do a bit of heart work, or do I need to pause and just think about this? Why are we doing this? And remind ourselves of the gospel again.
definitely.
Um,
I think that's maybe something that's I'm sure that happens for ministry staff as well, but particularly for ops and admin who are kind of in the day-to-day
yeah,
administration and ops task. I think it's easier to lose the vision of the church
yeah,
than it may be for ministry. So I think it's even more important that we're in the Word every morning,
yeah,
reminding
absolutely right.
ourselves of why we're
Yeah.
doing it.
And it is, isn't it? Like, I did a short video, kind of like the five essentials for kind of church administration and ops. Maybe someone might go and have a look at it on the website, but kind of five, just five different things that, just a reminder, God doesn't need us,
Mm,
um, and I have to think about that. But I love the Apostle Paul's kind of, he understands grace, and he worked hard at all the other apostles, but
mm,
yet not I, but it was the grace of God that was at work in with me, and
mm,
so there's this passion and this drive to give himself to his work, and yet this recognition that grace is needed, and it's grace that actually does the changing and the work ahead of us. And so yeah, I love the way he does that, and I think
mm.
we chatted a little bit about weakness, didn't we, and finding our weaknesses and stuff, and that might be kind of, someone might be sitting there going, why are they talking about that? But actually it's in our weakness, isn't it, where God is most glorified, isn't it? And it's in weakness that God uses, and I've known that to be true in my kind of church ops role.
Yeah,
And there's grace available for us, and yeah, so just perspective really matters, doesn't it, as we get into this,
yeah.
and do the hard work to get that perspective right, isn't it?
Definitely. I think as you get older, and depending on what the type of culture you work in, but definitely Sam's led a culture where we're not afraid to kind of be vulnerable and say, this is what I'm finding hard at the moment.
Yeah,
And that kind of that develops a real trust within the team. So and which he leads from the front, he'll always be
yeah,
very vulnerable with us as well. So it means that we can be as well. But I think as you take your years down the line, it's really helpful to be able to be humble and work out where your weaknesses are. So the law can work within those, but also you can build your team around those weaknesses
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Wiz, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and love just hearing a bit more about your story and just how God has used you in various different places, and that sense of call that you have, that sense of being in the right fit for this job right now is lovely to see. And yeah, may God bless you in all that you do.
Thank you, Gavin. It's been lovely to chat.
It's good. Right. To finish on this podcast, I'm going to try and guess what position you would play in football. Okay. This is going to be a
Okay.
long, and you can guess what position I was. So I would say you were probably a central midfielder.
Close. Sometimes, but I was
Okay.
on the wing, left foot.
A tricky left footer, winger.
Tricky left footed. Not many skills, but I could run fast.
Okay.
That was my thing.
Okay, that's interesting. So I'm a left footer as well, actually. All the
Yeah,
best
but
players
that's
are
very
left
good.
footers, let's be honest. Go on then, guess where I used to play
Yeah. Left
position
back.
wise. Left back, yes. Left
Yeah, we
back
do
or
that
centre
very
back.
good.
Yeah. Flipping
Centre
heck.
back, very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
No, I think the only thing I could do was strike the ball well. Everything else was very average. Apart from that,
We're both
Graham
very
used,
self-aware. It's good.
yeah, Graham said great left foot. Yeah, but he never mentioned anything else after that. So
So rude.
well, it's great to have you on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Thank
Church
you very
Street
much.
for sponsoring the podcast. If you've got any questions or you'd like to reach out to Wiz or me in any way that we can serve you and connect you, maybe you're new to this or maybe you've been doing it years and you've got experience that you'd love to share on the podcast, then please get in touch. info@thechurchoffice.co.uk, and we'll see you next time on the podcast. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.